It's perhaps not a surprise that China isn't here in Honolulu for RIMPAC exercises this year. Last December, a new US national security strategy was unveiled, which labelled China and Russia as competitors. Ever since, the US has stepped up patrols in the South and East China Seas, often sailing close to Chinese-claimed territory. Last weekend's passage of US Navy ships through the Taiwan Strait was also seen as provocative by Beijing. Beijing also questions the legitimacy of so-called freedom of navigation operations in the South China Sea. Analysts are seeing a distinct shift in US actions.
The Trump administration has already shown more of an emphasis and more of a commitment to freedom of navigation operations. There's been a higher number, and the tempo has increased. So we can expect more of that and probably, generally speaking, more of a U.S. push for security cooperation with allies in the region.
Here at the rim of the Pacific exercises, the U.S. is focused on relationships with its Pacific and Indian Ocean allies in a show of regional force. The flag of India and, of course, the name of Pacific Command has been changed before this RIMPAC to Indo-Pacific Command. What's in the name change? Well, India and the Indian Ocean, very much part of the evolving US strategy. But what does India think about it? Indian commanders, while happy to work more closely with the US and its allies, don't want to be drawn into what could be seen as an anti-China coalition.
Definitely they are not our enemy. So we are looking at having freedom of navigation in the area. The way they are operating, we would like to operate. And 70% of Earth is available for all of us. So if 30% of land is being taken care by so many millions of army people, we are very few, and we can enjoy our coexistence in these waters.
Fears of a potential anti-China coalition are, however, growing. There's a renewed US emphasis on something called the Quad, a Japanese idea from 2007, which brings four nations, the US, Japan, Australia and India, into a security dialogue. It was largely abandoned after a few years, but since 2017, the discussions have resumed, which worries Beijing. The recent visit to China by US Secretary of Defense James Mattis was intended to diffuse tensions. Observers say, however, while US military strategy may have shifted, US policy towards key Chinese security interests has not.
I do think overall the competition is relatively restrained. The U.S. has not changed its policies, for example, regarding Taiwan or the South China Sea. The U.S. still doesn't take a position on who owns what and still upholds a one-China policy.
China, however, remains wary. The Trump administration has questioned many long-standing U.S. foreign policies. If a fundamental shift occurs over Taiwan or the South China Sea, competitors could become combatants. Nathan King, CGTN, Honolulu, Hawaii.